Good day, everyone. Scooter from Granville Guitars, coming to you live from the Granville Guitars World Headquarters here in St. Petersburg, Florida. We have something of a traumatic case here in the shop today, and I wanted to document this thing. I've been working professionally in this industry, repairing guitars, repairing amplifiers, etc. Well, I've had Granville Guitars now for 10 years. This is my 10th year at this. Needless to say, I've been in and around this stuff and working at it professionally longer than that, but let's just go ahead and say 20 years, given how long I've been training to do this. I have never in my life, ever, seen a so-called, quote-unquote, completed fret job that was this awful, this absolutely wretched and just sloppy work. As we're going across the board, you can see here, look at this. Look at this huge glue slop here. And that's not even the worst of it. There is glue slopped absolutely every single fret slot. I'm not looking forward to taking these frets out because I'm not sure how damaged they're going to be by being removed with all of that glue slopped in there. That's not the most harrowing issue. The most harrowing issue is how sharp these fret ends are. Look at this one in particular next to my thumb here. Hopefully this translates well to the video. It's just about as nasty as it could possibly be. And not only is it sharp, look at the fretboard area here that's been just chewed away with a tool somehow. The entire fretboard is littered with this stuff. The fret's not down in the fret slot at all. And it's got horrendously sharp edges everywhere. Now look at this bevel here. As nasty as it is, that's the second fret. As nasty as it is, there's still some crown underneath the low E string. If you look at the first fret, the bevel angle is so extreme that it just barely supports the low E string. Just barely. I mean, if you beveled it any further than that, there wouldn't be any. There's like a 32nd of an inch there. Again, down low here, you can see these absolutely inexcusable chunks out of the sides of the fretboard. I mean, it's bad on both sides. There's just horrendous sharp edges everywhere. The person who owns this guitar has been playing it like this. I believe that they said they had been playing it for 2 years like this. I might have heard that incorrectly. I'm not sure, but you know, if you look closely at just about, here's the 11th fret right there and the 12th. Look at all of that damage to the sides of the fretboard. It truly is, it makes me angry is what it does. I spent a lot of time and a lot of effort trying to do the best work that I possibly can. And here's somebody out there, you know, you can see that these frets aren't even seated in their fret slots, any of them. It makes me a bit angry when there are people out there actually supposedly doing this stuff for a living, and this is what you get. It's criminal if you asked me. So anyway, this is our good friend. It's actually an early 90s CE24 Paul Reed Smith guitar, and we're going to refret this bad boy, and it's kind of an emergency. The player has to use it this weekend, so I'm going to try and get it out here as quickly as possible, but see if I can forgive some of these sins. I mean, damn. Anyway, that concludes part one of this little video. I'll return with future parts as the work is progressing here over the next day or so. If you have any questions about this or anything we do here at Granville Guitars, feel free to seek us out on the web at www.granvilleguitars.com or You can check us out on Facebook, or you can check us out on our new blog, A View from the Granville Bench. Don't worry, friends, this will get better. Hello everybody, Scooter here at Granville Guitars for part 2 on this Paul Reed Smith CE24 refret that I'm working on. You can see that I've gotten the frets out of the guitar, and in fact I have removed the neck from the guitar to get a little better access to things and not run into any problems with potentially damaging the body in any way. It's always a good idea to remove it if you can, unless you need the stability of the attachment. In this case, it's not going to be a problem. You can see that, like I said, I have removed the frets, and I've already cleaned and taken care of the first fret. You can see here how even in spite of the fact that I used a soldering iron to heat up the frets and get them out without too much chipping, it still managed to chip the board a little bit. That one isn't too bad. Some of them are much worse. Here's a fret slot that I worked on a little bit. You can see how much glue was used, and this is cyanoacrylate, our good friend super glue. Sometimes called holy water. In this case, nothing holy about it. Friends, my dear friends, I do use some super glue when I refret, but this right here, this is too much. You do not need to flood a fret slot like that. It just simply isn't necessary if you prepare yourself well. Now, there's a bit of a mystery here. We get down here. Let's see here. We're down to there's the 15th, 17th. The 16th fret slot I have cleaned. All of a sudden, here at the 17th fret, the slots are nice and clean, and there was no traces of glue in them whatsoever. Chipping was minimal. We're going to repair some of that. It worked out pretty well up there. Not really sure why. Possibly the technique used to drive these last few frets over the body was different. Either they pressed them down low and filled them with glue and hammered them up high and they went in fine. I don't know. The fret wire used was Evo, which is very hard and very unforgiving if you do not have it bent to the correct radius. I'm thinking that may be what happened with this guitar, is that the person installing just didn't realize how to work with Evo. It's frustrating stuff if you have no experience with it. In my opinion, the outcome is not really worth it. You can see this on the edges, the hammer blows in some cases that were missed trying to drive the stuff home. But anyway, that's really all for part 2 here. I'm going to spend the rest of today cleaning these fret slots, and I'm going to plane off the fretboard just slightly to get rid of a lot of this super glue residue, and get the board nice and ready to be refretted. So anyway, this is the end of part 2. Alright, Scooter here again for part 3 on this Paul Reed Smith. You can see what I've done so far here. We've planed off the board some, got rid of a lot of the glue residue that was on the surface of the board. Haven't done any fret slot cleaning yet. Did a little bit of gentle rounding on the edges of the fretboard to kind of minimize some of these dents a little bit. I mean, there's some of it's just not going to be able to be dealt with that much. Some of it's just going to have to be lived with. But it's better. It's certainly better than it was by a long shot. You can see there's some pretty good dents here and there. There's a doozy down here. Yeah, right there at the, let me find where my finger is. There it is. Yay. That one's a doozy. But in general, the board is now flat. It's back to its 10-inch radius. It had strayed a little bit in certain places. Not too bad. The wear wasn't too bad. That step, the planing of the board, was mostly a cleaning exercise more than anything else at this point. So, the rest of today, I'm going to go after these fret slots, make sure they're nice and clean and square, and the correct depth for the fret wire that we're going to use. We're going to use a 110 width, which I would call a jumbo, medium jumbo. Not super, but not the largest size available, but probably the second largest size available. Not too tall. The old wire was too tall for the player, and they have asked me to go with a slightly lower wire. Anyway, that's it for now. That's it for part 3, and we'll be back as work progresses. Alright, here we go with part 4, I believe, if we're keeping track. We're working on this Paul Reed Smith CE24, and as you can see, I finished cleaning out the fret slots. The board's been finished sanded as far as I'm going to go with it, and it's basically ready to have frets installed. The majority of the chipping has been repaired, the stuff that's going to make a difference. What chipping remains should not interfere with the frets holding in. I was able to repair a fair amount of the denting on the sides of the fretboard as much as possible. I mean, you're limited by how deep you can go, obviously. But in the case of this guitar, I felt like it needed to feel a little bit better down there. So anyway, we're coming along nicely. All of that super glue is gone. I don't mind telling you, it was a lot of work. It was an awful lot of work to get all of that glue out of all of these fret slots. But, you know, it has to be done. If it's going to be done right, all that glue has to be removed. And all of the fret slots have to be made to the proper depth so that the new frets will seat. Anyway, that's it for part 4. I'll be back shortly, hopefully with installed frets. Alright, here we go. We're up to part 5 here, and as we can see, our good friend here, the Paul Reed Smith CE24, has new frets, and it was a lot of work to get it to this point. It's okay, that's what I do. As you can see, these fret ends are not quite finished yet. Certain manufacturers and certain other luthiers would call these finished, but I'm not done with these yet. They've been filed off even with the edge of the fretboard and sanded down to about 320 grit. But I'm going to go further than that. I'm actually going to round off the ends, and then after that I will level and crown the frets to make sure they're dead even with one another under string tension. You can see where there's some fretboard damage still evident on the edges that I was unable to get down past, but for the most part it's come together pretty well, and I'm pretty pleased with it. It's always nerve-wracking when it's a big job and you got to do it quickly, but it's working out pretty well, I think. I think the player is going to be pleased. I think I'll be able to make the deadline. And I'll fire up another chapter in this little tale once the frets are finished off and the neck is back on the guitar. So stand by for part 6. Alright, dear friends, we are now into the home stretch on this PRS CE 24. So you can see the frets are in, the ends have been rounded off, polished, and the fretboard's been oiled. It's as perfect as I could make it, given the state of the fretboard and the short time frame we had available to us. Something else to point out, you don't see it here, underneath the nut there was a huge piece of plastic. It was actually clear plastic folded over once to create a shim under the nut. I don't like to shim nuts in general, unless it's a vintage piece and we're trying to retain the original nut. I typically like to make new nuts. Without the shim, the original nut for this guitar is going to be fine, I think. Let's have a quick peek at the other side of the fretboard here. So you can see that I've done the same treatment to the other side of the board here. All of the ends are rounded off, little bull noses, to be easy to play and easy on the fingers. You can run your fingers across there and it feels very nicely lived in, which is what you want. You want something you can play comfortably, and that is not what this guitar had. So anyways, I'll probably do one more short clip once the strings are back on and it's completed. Worked on this thing all day and I'm ready to call it a day for today. So come back again tomorrow for the final section. Alright everyone, here we come to the final installment of the documentation of the work on this early 90s Paul Reed Smith CE 24. As you can see, this is a musician's guitar. This is a player's guitar. This is a musician's guitar. This thing gets played a lot. So it's not perfect. It's not pristine. It's not, it's not ugly, but it's not pretty either. So here we have our new frets, brand new strings, fresh setup to E flat, as per the player's request. Everything is as it should be. Action is fairly on the low side, I would call it. About in the ballpark I normally set things. Around 30 thousandths at the 12th fret, which should give nice low action but good tone. You can see we're all lined up nicely. We have plenty of nice comfortable bevel on either side of the frets. Original nut is still in place, still working fine, so we left it alone. Didn't make a new nut. This is much more like what it probably was from the factory all those years ago, before the owner played the daylights out of the frets and trusted the refret to somebody who was out of their depth, let's just say. Is this a perfect fret job? No. Is it the best fret job in the world? No. I would say probably not. I'm always learning. Every fret job I do, and this one makes number 550 something. Every fret job I do, I learn something. I learn from each guitar. Each guitar teaches me a little something along the way. This one had a lot to teach me. It had been violated and wanted to be playable again. And I think it came out pretty good. Anyway, this is the end of this little video, this odyssey of pain that I've been on the last few days. But I think we're in good shape. Incidentally, we also got a new volume pot for this guitar. I put in a new jack, and this guitar here, it had weird knobs on it that didn't necessarily work for the player very well. These knobs here with these grippy rubber collars came off an old Peavey. And I've had them laying in a drawer for a while, and they give a real positive grip to both the 5-way switch and the volume pot. And we've done a similar but not quite the same color speed knob for the tone control. These are similar to what the guitar would have had new, but much more functional. The player uses the volume knob quite a bit, and this will allow very accurate and very positive results from that. So anyway, there it is. She's all done. Frets are completed. It's ready to go back out for another 25 years. If you have any questions about anything we do here at Granville Guitars, feel free to seek us out on the web at www.granvilleguitars.com or on Facebook, or also come check out our new blog, A View from the Granville Bench. That's all I know for today. Happy playing, everybody.